Daily Broadside to 922. Guess what I got to do this weekend? I got to drive almost 2 hours to pick up an ant farm. Why, you may ask yourself? Because in my haste to try to surprise somebody, a good friend of mine, with a new ant farm, I shipped them an ant farm. And then I found out, lo and behold, they're not going to be in town this weekend and it's going to get delivered tomorrow. And I can't have like a tube of high-prized ants just suffering away. So I got to go drive to their house, pick up the ant farm. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I want to set it up and like go ahead and let the ants like start farming, I guess is what the verb is. I guess they farm. And then just leave it on their porch and be all set up and they'd be like, what is this? I'll probably like throw it away. Like, who sent me this crap? But I can't just let them sit there and die in a little plastic tube. And you may be asking yourself, be like, well, that seems kind of silly to do for an ant farm. Those things are like $8 on Amazon. This isn't a Chinese Amazon ant farm. This is like a nice, like modular set. Like these things they're not cheap, let's just say. I had no idea, but if you want to be a bear, be a grizzly. You know what I mean? You know, I think you hear me talking. So yesterday I was watching a video, it popped up, and I was never a wrestling fan. For the most part, I never watched the WWF, which is now I think the WWE. I was an NWA and AWA fan. I like that crap, the Road Warriors and that kind of crap, the Fabulous Freebirds, the Thunderbirds. I can't remember. Anyway, all that. So, but I only watched it from like 82 to like 87. Like it was a very short window, and then I grew up and found women and cars and guitars and music and cars and girls and cars and girls and guitars. And I went in a different direction, you know. You can have wrestling. But anyway, so they had these figures in the 80s, and it was like Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant and Junk. And I knew who these people were because, you know, I found WWE to not be as fake or not be as real as NWA wrestling. I was more like I hated Ric Flair, and I liked, at any rate, I know who these people were. I knew who Hulk Hogan was and Andre the Giant, right? And they had these figures they came out with, but they didn't pose. I had friends who had them, and they'd be like, they're like 9 inches tall, and in this thick, rubbery stuff with like some kind of skeletal mass to it to give it some rigidity. And you'd be like, how do you play with this? Because I had the NWA figures, but they were like G.I. Joe, but you know, bigger. You know, you could move their arms and you know, slam people and whatnot. Anyway, I'm like 9, 10 years old, right? And so, long story short, I see this video and it's going through, like, you could buy like the ring, you know. I had a ring, and they had the WWF ring, and it had all the figures standing in there. And the quote was, I guess the guy collects them and still wrestles them, and is like, Royal Rumble 19's about to go down. And I'm like, damn, this dude has got an exciting like Thursday or Friday evening plan for himself, you know. And but the first one, right, I go to the comments because there's like 8 of them, and one of them's like, where's Big John Studd? And I'm like, Big John Studd was the first one you saw. And it was a big dude with like, I think he had one arm up, one arm down, and he's in overalls and like a mountain man hat, right? And I'm like, that's Big John Studd right there. And then I was like, wait a minute, is that Big John Studd? Maybe I'm wrong. And so I type in Big John Studd. That wasn't Big John Studd. That was Hillbilly Jim, who, oddly enough, I think is the only one of those figures of like the 20 that they made that is still alive. And I think he's a numismatist, is what I read, which is, you know, to take wrestling to numismatics, I think it's how it's pronounced. That's a change, you know. That's like going from raising ants in a farm to, you know, being like a rutabaga salesman or something. I don't know. But So I look up, I type in Big John Studd. That's all I typed. BIGJOHN STUD. Well, don't do that, okay? Because half the results were a wrestling figure, you know, and then half the results were a big sex toy. And I'm like, what is going on? You know, and then I thought, I'm like, well, I guess maybe I can understand why that would come up in the search results. But it did. It was split. And you know how like at the top of your Google search, it'll have like a list of things for sale, you know, and it would have like toy, and they alternated which toy it was. And I didn't put, maybe I typed in Big John Studd toy. Maybe that's what spun it off. I'm pretty sure all I did was type in Big John Stud. It doesn't matter what I typed in. It should have gone to just a wrestling figure, and it didn't. It went to other stuff, you know? But anyway, I was wrong. That was Hillbilly Jim. You know, I declare thumb war. So, Jameson Curry, Jameson, I guess that's how you say it. He was supposed to be, he was a big basketball prospect, little 6'7", like 190-pound guy. Supposed to go to Carolina. Then he got a weed charge. I think he went to Graham High School. Somewhere in Alamance County, I think. And he gets a weed charge, and Carolina's like, nah, no thanks, we don't want you. Nowadays, they'd be like, bring it on, you know, what's a weed charge? But back then, you know, that's probably 03, 05, something like that, I don't know. But anyway, you know, he went to, I don't know where he went, but he went to college, Oklahoma, I don't remember what he did. But he goes to the NBA, right? He gets drafted in like the 17th round, you know, and he ends up playing a total of 3.9 seconds in the league. Has no statistical anything, like other than the fact that he played for less than a minute. He has 1 minute on his, you know, box score. No rebounds, no steals, no assists, no nothing. No turnovers, nothing, good or bad, he did nothing for 3.9 seconds. It begs the question why coaches put you in for 3.9 seconds. But anyway, and then he went on to play in like Italy and Barcelona and wherever else, and then some other little, I think he did some time in the G League, and just never made it in the league, right? But possibly could have if, you know, the cards had dealt differently, but they didn't. And then I looked it up. I'm like, what's that dude doing these days? And he, you know, he's done like, I think he's done some assistant coaching. I read this the other day, and I can't remember. I've had my mind full of I've been investigating ant farms, and I found the best ant farm. I just sent it at a wrong time. Nevertheless, plus I can't imagine a more horrid death than just sitting on a front porch in a box just melting. Poor ants. They probably don't even understand all that, but I'm going to understand it for them because I'm getting in the car tomorrow and I'm driving to save them. I'm coming to save the day. Anyway, so Jameson Curry. So yeah, so he teaches like basketball like skills and whatnot. He's got like a camp or whatnot. And I just wonder, like, does he ignore the fact that he was in the league for 3 points? Like, hey, you were in the league? And I'm like, yeah, I was in the league. And then they start asking, like, did you ever play against LeBron? You're like, nah, I only played for 3.9 seconds. Like, I don't understand. Like, do you boast? Like, is that, like, I've never played in the league for any seconds. So Jameson Curry is 3.9 times, you know, better than anything I've ever posted in the league. And I get that. That's fine. It doesn't hurt my feelings, you know. But is it something, like, is that really something, like, is his family proud of him? Like, he made the league. He didn't do squat when he was there, but he made it to the league. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, I'm going to go brave this pre-hurricane weather. I think we got a dual set of, looks like a set of big old titties out in the Gulf or whatever we're calling it these days. You know, coming up towards Florida, the Panhandle as they call it. Panhandle. Anyway, y'all have a good one on this nice not sunny. It's rainy Saturday afternoon, morning. Take it back.